A part of the problem, but I spent most of my life being part of the problem, defending the Iraq War. Like, I actually did that. Can you imagine if you did that?
Hey, what's going on, folks? We have a great show for you today. Tucker Carlson admirably regrets the Iraq War and says that the media system is fake.
Like, I've spent my whole life in the media. My dad was in the media. Like, that is a big part of the revelation that's changed my life, is the media are part of the control apparatus. Like, there's no...
We're going to listen to that full clip because he dropped a lot of truth bombs there. We appreciate it. Trump took another jab at DeSantis, saying Florida would have been fine even with a Democrat. Who cares? We'll listen to that clip.
But it's not because of the governor. Florida was doing fantastically. You had a governor named Rick Scott who did a very good job. Even Charlie Crist, a Democrat, did a good job, and he had very good numbers. Sunshine and ocean are very alluring. It's not too hard to work with those factors.
And Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on Jimmy Dore's podcast replays how Donald Trump was really close to working with him on a vaccine safety commission, but took $1 million donation from Pfizer and then hired a bunch of pharma lobbyist swampers to run the positions instead.
Presidential candidates, whether it's Obama or President Trump or Biden, come into office saying, I'm going to get rid of the swamp. I'm going to get rid of the corruption. But then they get in there and something happens.
I can't wait for this show, folks. It's going to be fun. God bless you. And the Dream Rare podcast starts now. It's the Dream Rare podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's episode of the Dream Rare podcast. We have three stories today. The first one is Tucker Carlson, a different story on the Nelk Boys podcast. I thought it was really worth sharing. He says he regrets, being part of the war and media machine during the Iraq War. And I love to see someone with this type of self-awareness to be like, I was a part of the problem. You don't see very many people that have self-awareness or accountability or are willing to admit mistakes. So, I thought we'd start off the show with that. And then we'll get into Trump jabbing at DeSantis over Florida, saying even Democrats did a fine job there. Third story is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Let's just jump right into it. I can't wait to watch this whole podcast on the Nelk Boys, because usually you see Tucker Carlson on his show, but he's in someone else's setting and basically just doing a podcast. And man, there's so many gems in this. Let's watch.
Like, I've spent my whole life in the media. My dad was in the media. Like, that is a big part of the revelation that's changed my life, is the media are part of the control apparatus. Like, there's no... Yeah, I know, because you're younger and smarter and you're like, yeah. But what if you're me and you spent your whole life in that world, and to look around and all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow.
We're going to play more clips, but how many people in media are willing to look back at their 20-year career and say, hey, I made some mistakes back? You very rarely see that. So you got to give Tucker Carlson credit for having this type of awareness and being like, I didn't know I was born into this. I thought it was all normal, but it's not. Let's watch.
Not only are they part of the problem, but I spent most of my life being part of the problem, defending the Iraq War. Like, I actually did that. Can you imagine if you did that?
Well, what do you think? What is one of your biggest regrets in your career?
Oh, defending the Iraq War.
That is it?
Well, I've had a million regrets, not being more skeptical, calling people names when I should have listened to what they were saying. Look, when someone makes a claim, there's only one question that's important at the very beginning, which is the claim true or not?
I mean, regardless of what you think of Tucker Carlson, you got to love this. I just don't see this in politics. I don't see it in media. Him being like, I have a lot of regrets and, I was that person. I learned from my mistakes. It shouldn't be this uncommon, but it really is. Let's keep watching.
So I say, you committed murder or you rigged the last election. Before you attack me as a crazy person for saying that, maybe you should explain whether you did it or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for too long, I participated in the culture where I was like, anyone who thinks outside these pre-prescribed lanes is crazy, is a conspiracy theorist.
I mean, he learned a lesson. I love that. Let's watch the last clip real quick.
And I just really regret that. I'm ashamed that I did that. And partly it was age, partly it was the world that I grew up in. So when you look at me and you're like, yeah, of course they're part of the means of control, I'm like, that's obvious to you because you're 28, but I just didn't see it at all. And I'm ashamed of that.
Isn't that what the media tries to do, though?
It's their only purpose.
Right.
They're not here to inform you. Really? Even on the big things that really matter, like the economy and war and COVID and like things that really matter that will affect you. No, their job is not to inform you. They are working for the small group of people who actually run the world. They're their servants. They're their Praetorian Guard. And we should treat them with maximum contempt because they have earned it.
I mean, what's not to like there with that clip? That's called the Full Send podcast by the Nelk Boys. If people aren't familiar, the Nelk Boys lean conservative, but they're not like, they're not like super conservative or anything, but they're like kind of frat bros. They like to drink beer, have fun. They have a huge audience among the youth. I would say they're one of the only podcasts and group of people like pranksters that actually leans conservative. They have on Candace Owens, Trump, Tucker Carlson. I appreciate them because, without that, the kids would never get to see Tucker Carlson like that. So really good stuff. I can't wait to watch that full podcast. I'll definitely listen. And I want to say this, regardless of what people think of Tucker Carlson, I've said this for years now, he's the best person on television. He just is. Nobody else is in his lane. Laura Ingram's cool. She's had me on before. I appreciate her. Sean Hannity is very popular, but I would say he's more of like a yes man, a classic traditional, whatever the Republican Party's doing. Tucker's the only one that'll disagree with wars. He'll, bring on Jimmy Dore. He'll talk about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He'll question Big Pharma. You just don't see that on television. And even if you don't love Tucker Carlson, some people are still skeptical. You have to appreciate the fact that he has the self-awareness and reasoning to say, no, I did make mistakes. No, I did push the agenda. I was that person. And, it's a beautiful thing. I really like Tucker Carlson. We don't agree on everything. There's times where, I've seen stuff and I slightly disagree, but I really do like him as a person. I like him on podcasts. I've seen him debate Cenk Uygur one time at a conference, and he just comes off very genuine. I understand he's born into the media, etc. A lot of people don't trust him. Some people do. But out of everyone on TV, he's like the only one that ever impresses me to the fullest, and I love the fact that he will admit that. You'll never see 99% of Democrats or Republicans or politicians say stuff like that. So, kudos to him. That's pretty cool. Here's the clip that's going viral right now. Donald Trump is going after DeSantis because DeSantis will probably run against Trump. And Trump is trying to say that, DeSantis doesn't matter in Florida. I mean, Democrats did a fine job. Who cares? It's just the sun and the beaches. That's why it's so good there. As if California doesn't exist. And everybody knows that sun and beaches does not sway politics necessarily. But I guess if you just believe everything he says, it's yeah. But I think, honestly, most people are calling out his nonsense now. Let's take a watch.
For those of you that didn't notice, Florida was doing great long before Ron DeSantis got there. People are fleeing from New York to Florida and other places because of high taxes and out-of-control crime. It's really bad. Not because of the governor. Thank you, Mr. President, for doing that. But it's not because of the governor. Florida was doing fantastically. You had a governor named Rick Scott who did a very good job. Even Charlie Crist, a Democrat, did a good job, and he had very good numbers. Sunshine and ocean are very alluring. It's not too hard to work with those factors. So just remember, Florida was doing really well long before Ron DeSantis got there.
So let's start with this because he said a few things. He said sunshine and beaches, the Democrats are doing a fine job. All you have to do is look at California to know that he's lying about that. I don't care if you like Trump more than DeSantis. I don't care that Trump doesn't like DeSantis. But this gaslighting thing that Trump's trying to do, it doesn't work on me. I understand it works on some people. I live in California. There's some nice areas, obviously, and there's some bad areas in Florida. But sunshine and beaches is not what does it. It's just not. California has sunshine and beaches, I would say better weather than Florida, but the politics here are worse than anywhere in the country. So to sit there and gaslight and lie to us like Trump thinks I'm an idiot or something, or you're stupid, that it's the sunshine and the beaches that is just so alluring, then how come people are leaving California? How come businesses are leaving California? It's not the sunshine, it's not the beaches. Yes, it's nice, but that's disproven by California. With that being said, I understand what he's talking about when it comes to the income tax and, places like Texas, Florida, Tennessee, Arizona, Georgia, they have conservatism baked into the politics. So even when a Democrat wins in Florida or Georgia, they're not as liberal as a lot of liberals in liberal states because conservatism is baked into the culture. However, if you look at Texas, Beto O'Rourke was a couple points away from winning. Texas is going in the wrong direction. Georgia's going in the wrong direction. Arizona's going in the wrong direction. Tennessee is moving slower, but in my opinion, because of Nashville, it's starting to move in the wrong direction. Florida's the only one, in my view, that's reversing the trend, where you had Andrew Gillum barely lose the election and then pass out like a crackhead or whatever happened to him in the hotel room or whatever. That was like really close. And now DeSantis just won Miami County, which is historic. I mean, I don't see any other Republicans doing that. They're all going in the wrong direction, except for Florida. So, is that not important? I understand that the income tax is definitely good, and Democrats ran Florida okay as compared to California per se, but is he really trying to pretend like it's just the sunshine and the beaches? Is he really trying to pretend like if Andrew Gillum won, they would have done as well? I truly believe the COVID stuff and the fact that after a month or two, DeSantis was branding it as freedom, freedom, freedom. I think that has a lot to do with it. I know dozens of people who left Los Angeles to go to either conservative counties or conservative states because of COVID. Some left because of the business stuff, but to act like that wasn't a part of the migration, California, in my opinion, is, I'm not going to say nicer than Florida, but has nicer weather, in my view, than Florida. Nicer, mountains, etc. It's people are not coming here; they're leaving. So it's not the weather. Stop lying. Let me know what you guys think. I have a question that I'm not sure, because I understand Trump is rich. He has properties everywhere, New York, Florida. He's always been in Mar-a-Lago. It's not like new to him. He's been there with Democrats and Republicans. Do you think, because Trump moved a lot of his stuff to Florida recently and did the official move, like I think he's like now technically a Florida resident instead of a New York resident, would Trump have made that move if Andrew Gillum won Florida? Does he think that Andrew Gillum would have had his back and he would have had an easy move? Or did Trump flee a Democrat state, New York, to Florida because of Republicans there? Yeah, he helped him get elected, but at the same time, it's like, there are people who get elected without Trump. Governor Kemp did fine in the election without his endorsement, even though Trump was bashing him. He still won Georgia. Trump's been taking jabs at DeSantis. DeSantis did better than any other Republican. All I'll say is this before I move on. I'm not buying into this false paradigm that you have to like one or the other. And if you don't like Trump, you're a DeSimp and you're working with Jeb Bush. It's like Trump works with Lindsey Graham. Ron DeSantis is cozy to a lot of rhinos. Trump cozy to a lot of rhinos. I see the same issues in both of them. And if you like one or the other, I'm not going to belittle you because you prefer one candidate. I might have my disagreements. I might, criticize Trump too much for some people or whatever. But I understand that you can vote for who you want to. And I see the pros and cons in both of them. But the Trump crowd, this is my issue. And maybe I'm only one voter, so it doesn't matter. The gaslighting and the lying, like the way Tucker Carlson said, hey, I did make some mistakes. I learned from my lessons and I'm a better person now because I'm not who I was 20 years ago. I appreciate that. That's the type of people that I trust. I trust people that are willing to tell the truth about things they messed up. With Trump, his whole campaign strategy is to be like, Democrats do a fine job in Florida. I don't believe that's true. It doesn't matter if DeSantis is there. I think he should at least be complimenting the fact that DeSantis is turning Florida more red, while all these other states that he's talking about, like Texas, they're all turning blue. They're not going in the right direction. Something's wrong there. Texas is getting way more blue over time. So either you want to address reality or you just want to live in your own world and just bash him because he's running for president. This type of stuff doesn't work on me. When he says DeSantis closed beaches, DeSantis sold the vaccine too much, Trump starts to remind me of like a Sal Alinsky, where he's accusing DeSantis of all these things that he's doing himself with zero self-awareness. Like, yeah, he closed beaches, but I also close stuff. Or like, yeah, he sold the vaccine a few times, but I sell it more. Trump's whole campaign for some reason is like just crap on DeSantis, brainwash all supporters into hating people who like DeSantis more, and then just gaslighting people on stuff like it doesn't even matter if a Democrat runs Florida. Like, who cares? It's just the sunshine. Like, who does that work on? I don't know. It doesn't work on me. And just tell the truth. I think, if Trump leads with truth, he'll have favor and he can win the election. But if his whole strategy is to gaslight and lie and just bottom of the barrel clowny behavior in order to try to make DeSantis look dumb, it's just stupid. Like, tell the truth about DeSantis. Don't say it's the sunshine and beaches. We know that. Anybody who's been to California, they know it's not the sunshine and the beaches. So just stop lying. But this is the weird part. He won't stop lying. He just keeps lying. And it's like, I'm just supposed to ignore it. It's not working on me. And I can't take a year and a half of this. I'm not buying it. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll read some at the But the last clip I want to play real quick before I read some comments is Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is a Democrat. I mean, he's like one of the only last decent Democrats left. He might as well just change his political affiliation, but maybe it's because he's the Kennedy family. They've always been Democrats, whatever. He's talking about on Jimmy Dore's podcast, who I also like for a left-leaning guy, about how Trump said he was going to fight the vaccine industry, but then he took $1 million from Pfizer and then kind of turned his back on the Safety Council and instead hired a bunch of lobbyists and swampers. I've told this story a bunch on my podcast, but I'm glad it's getting out there because that's actually where I originally heard it, is from Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He's been telling the truth about this for years. So let's just watch 2 clips real quick. And, his voice is messed up. He has some sort of disease or disorder. That's the reason his voice is like that. For those who are going to ask and wonder, I don't know what happened, but it's just how he is. So be respectful.
Presidential candidates, whether it's Obama or President Trump or Biden, come into office saying, I'm going to get rid of the swamp. I'm going to get rid of the corruption. But then they get in there and something happens. Trump got in there saying, I'm going to get rid of the swamp. He asked me to be on a vaccine safety commission. When that news got out, Pfizer gave him $1 million for the inauguration and then for his inaugural party. And then he appointed 2 of Pfizer's lobbyists, Scott Gottlieb and Alex Azar, to run HHS, and they killed the Vaccine Safety Commission. And then Gottlieb went to serve on Pfizer's board.
So I'm going to play the second clip real quick, but there's a reason that this is important. And it's not because I'm being hateful or I'm trying to push it too much. The reality is, until the Republican base figures this out, it's like a hamster on a wheel. You're never going to get to where you're going because where you think you're going is not true. So the whole, I think, gist of Donald Trump's 2016 election, I mean, there's a lot of things he did right, but one of the main things was I'm outside the corrupt system. I won't take their money. I won't accept donations from these people because if they pay me, I'm going to do what they say. He told the truth. He said, I've paid you guys. He looked at the stage people like Jeb Bush. I've paid you. And the reason I paid you is to get you to do what I wanted you to do. And I know the system, and I'm going to expose it, and I'm outside the system. That's what Trump ran on. It was very appealing, and it was awesome. The problem is most people don't realize is he didn't do that. He said he wasn't going to take donations, but like RFK was talking about for his inauguration, that's when all the corporations swarm you. And Donald Trump actually took over $100 million from corporations, more than Obama and even more than Biden. So Trump's whole premise of I don't need the donor money, I don't want to be controlled. The reason that his 4 years didn't end up like people thought it would, and the reason that he did all these questionable appointees and had these advisors, it's because he took the money. He sold out. He took $1 million from Pfizer, $1 million from Bank of America. You total up all the money that Trump took from bribes and corporate donations, it's over $100 million. He took more money than Obama. And that's why his cabinet looks the way it did. He knows the truth about what's going on with Big Pharma. That's why he called up RFK Jr. and said, hey, we need to look into these and make a vaccine safety council because something's going on. Trump knows. Trust me, he's not stupid. This is what's so annoying about a lot of people in his base. They're like, he's so dumb. He's so smart, but he just doesn't know he's getting fooled. That's what you tell yourself because you don't want to believe he did what he did. He's not stupid. He knows about this stuff. He knows about the safety of Big Pharma. He took $1 million from Pfizer, and then instead of working with RFK Jr., he shut down the Safety Council and then hired Alex Azar for HHS Secretary, who was a Big Pharma lobbyist / executive for Eli Lilly, and Scott Gottlieb, who was a Big Pharma shill, who left his position at the FDA to join Pfizer's board. So these are the type of quality that Trump put in office. It's just true. Here's RFK explaining how they do it to everybody, and they just kind of swarm these politicians, and they come in with good intentions and they leave being exactly like the last guy. Let's take a watch.
That is the swamp. And when these guys get in there, what happens to them, they either get co-opted because all the money and because all the congressional chairs are captured by those agencies, so they can't do anything unless they do what they're told, or they just get overwhelmed because these agencies are so huge and the corruption is so entrenched in them that they don't know how to fix it. They don't know how. They're not going to go in the weeds and fix it. So they appoint somebody safe to run that agency, somebody like Pete Buttigieg.
So for those wondering, that's from the Jimmy Dore show. Jimmy Dore did an interview with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I found the clip on Twitter, so all credit and respect to them. You know, he explains, he's like, they come in with good intentions, and then they end up hiring someone like Pete Buttigieg. Here's what I was explaining to people during the whole East Palestine thing, right? Because nobody knows this. It's like, all right, Pete Buttigieg, we know he's incompetent. We know he's corrupt. We know he doesn't deserve that position. The question, and there's a reason I keep bringing this stuff up. I'm not trying to relive in the past, but you know, it's not like Trump's an outsider anymore, where he's saying he was in office for 4 years. So we can actually point to what he's done and kind of compare it. That's the reason I do it. So, you know, when he runs for office, I won't take their money. And yeah, maybe he'll do this. Maybe DeSantis will do this. But Trump, he was there for 4 years. So I asked people, who was the Pete Buttigieg of Donald Trump's administration, right? Who did he put for Secretary of Transportation? People don't know. He put Mitch McConnell's wife. That's who Trump put, Mitch McConnell's wife. Is Mitch McConnell's wife less corrupt than Buttigieg? Of course not. There's a reason I bring this stuff up, because you're on a hamster wheel. You get what I'm saying? It's not going anywhere because you think that it's going to be so different, but it's not. And in my view, because people ask what's the solution, I think people need to realize the game. If a politician runs on, I'm not going to take their money, and then he takes their money, you should call it out, right? You should be like, well, the whole reason that we wanted you to win and thought you were going to be different was because you said you weren't going to take the corporation's money. But the truth is Trump took over $100 million from corporations. People don't want to believe this because they're like, oh, he got fooled. He got tricked. He didn't get tricked. He took the money and he sold out just like Obama. He took the money and he sold out just like Biden. Trump sold out. That's the truth. But no, I don't want to believe that. Okay. They just run in circles wondering why nothing ever gets done the way you think it's going to get done. The solution is to address that. Address that. When DeSantis takes hundreds of millions of dollars from big donors, start asking DeSantis the question, hey, DeSantis, whatever the guy's name is, Schwartzman, or I don't even know the name of the donors that DeSantis is taking money, Ken Griffin, like whatever, whether it's the Koch brothers. I'm not saying that DeSantis is taking money from them, but whoever the donors are that are giving the money to DeSantis, as a voter, as a journalist, ask them. It doesn't mean you hate DeSantis. Be like, hey, if you take $300 million from these donors, what's the transaction? Why are you taking the money? And what are you going to do for them? It's a fair question. It doesn't mean you hate DeSantis. It's just the reality of politics. When it comes to Trump, the problem with Trump is he's got people so brainwashed on the right that they don't even want to admit he did that. If DeSantis takes $100 million of donor money, everybody talks about it and they're like, oh my God, what? But Trump did the same thing. Oh, but no, it's an excuse. It's like Trump has created this whole narrative that he's like, it's so strange. I don't even really understand it. It's like he's a victim. He takes the money, but it's not his fault. He gets fooled by Fauci, but it's not his fault he gets fooled. It's Fauci's fault. Like Trump has created this narrative that he's the ultimate victim and everything he does is somebody else's fault. If he believes somebody else, it's their fault, not his. If he hires the wrong person, it's their fault, not his. If he takes the donor money and sells out, it's their fault, not his. If he sells the vaccine, it's their fault, not his. It's the opposite of conservative ideology, which is pull yourself up by your bootstraps, take accountability for your actions. And if you're the CEO or the quarterback, you need to take accountability, right? But that's the opposite of the world that Trump paints. He's the ultimate victim. Nothing's his fault. It's very odd. So, I appreciate RFK for putting that out there where it's like Trump's biggest supporters in my comment section say he's stupid. They're like, oh, he's too dumb to know the truth about vaccines. He's too dumb. That's what you think. He's not stupid when it comes to the pharmaceutical industry. He took the money and he sold out just like Obama and Biden. I know it hurts, but it's true. So if he takes the money or DeSantis takes the money, your job as a voter is to ask, who are you going to hire? These are my questions. I pray that somebody who interviews Trump, I don't care who it is, Darren Beattie, David Harris, whoever, a lot of people get to talk to Trump. I don't need the attention. I just want somebody to ask him real questions. Here's my questions for Donald Trump. And you could ask questions to DeSantis too. Ready? I'm gonna lay them out. I'm curious to who Donald Trump's cabinet's going to be, right? Last time he put Mike Pompeo at Secretary of State. He worked with John Bolton for a little. Trump did a great job on foreign policy, in my opinion. He deserves credit where it's due. He did a better job than Biden. But when it came to Big Pharma, he took their money. He put in a bunch of lobbyists and swampers, and I think that ended up destroying our country in 2020 because Trump handed the keys to the castle to the deep state. For Secretary of Transportation, he hired Mitch McConnell's wife. Like, my question to Trump is, are you going to hire swampers again? Or did you learn your lesson? Are you going to hire outsiders? That doesn't make me a Trump hater. I'm a voter that thinks he's going to do the same thing. I don't think Trump's learned a damn lesson. I think he has no accountability, no self-awareness. And personally, I think if DeSantis wins the nominee over him, I could see Trump endorsing Biden. I could see him being so scornful that he'll vote for a Democrat over DeSantis. I don't want to believe that's going to happen, but I don't see Trump as an ethical person or a moral person. Or the more that time reveals, I'm like, he cares about himself and his power more than he cares about anything. He's willing to basically say Democrats do a good job in Florida just to scorn DeSantis. So it's like, my questions are not hateful. It's like, are you going to learn? Because my reason for liking DeSantis more than Trump, I think they're controlled by the same people. But the difference between Trump and DeSantis for me that I appreciate is that DeSantis hired Joseph Ladapo to run Surgeon General. He's an outsider. You want to talk about a real outsider? It's Joseph Ladapo. He's a real outsider. That's who DeSantis put in charge of the Surgeon General. Trump hired Mike Pence's guy, Jerome Adams, to be the Surgeon General. I don't like Jerome Adams. Jerome Adams doesn't like me. He blocked me on Twitter. I think Jerome Adams is a shill, and he's Mike Pence's little, Indiana guy. All of Trump's pharma picks were terrible. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, maybe DeSantis will sell out, but maybe he'll hire a few outsiders where I don't see Trump changing. Like, no, why would he change when no one even asks him a question? All his supporters are like completely delusional. So that's my reasoning for if the election were tomorrow, I'd vote for DeSantis over Trump because I think the chance of DeSantis hiring outsiders is like 25 to 50%. And I think the chance of Trump hiring outsiders is like 10 to 0%. He didn't do it. He's completely shameless. He makes unlike Tucker Carlson and DeSantis, who I've heard be like, oh, I would have done that differently. Everything is everyone else's fault. Trump is a CEO who takes no accountability for his own hires. So for me, I don't trust that. And also, the way he says that the vaccine saved 100 million lives, it's the greatest human achievement, or it's one of the greatest achievements of mankind, to me, that's the red flag of red flags. Even Bill Gates says there's 3 problems with the vaccine. So when Donald Trump is trying to sell the vaccine even more shamelessly than Bill Gates, that's the red flag of red flags. And it's a bigger red flag that his own base is basically, for lack of a better word, cucked to his brand. It's like they're completely cucked to the Trump brand. They don't want to question it. They don't want to do journalism against him. They don't want to do reporting. When Marjorie Taylor Greene agrees with McCarthy, they all harpy out at Marjorie Taylor Greene and freak out. Yet when Trump endorses McCarthy, nobody questions Trump. So what are you really mad at, the person or the policy? You get what I'm saying? If you're mad that Marjorie Taylor Greene endorsed McCarthy, then why don't you have that same energy when Donald Trump does it? It's like he's got people under this weird spell. They have no consistency in their reasoning. If DeSantis did what Trump did with the vaccine, they're all on it. But when Trump does it, it's an excuse. I don't want to be a part of whatever this is anymore. It's like mass brainwashing of conservatives where they have no ethics or principles or morals, and they just like do whatever one guy says, no matter what he says. It's very odd. You'd almost rather somebody in there that people don't like, so then the people actually do something and pay attention versus just make excuses for it. So, it's going to be a long couple of years, but that's really my take is I just pray that people hold Trump accountable and ask him questions, or else he's just going to repeat what he did last time. And it's not a huge random, thing that happened. Like when it comes to the 2020 lockdowns, that's what happens when you give Big Pharma that much power. And Big Pharma is out of control. I saw a report recently of how many kids are on pharmaceuticals. I despise Big Pharma. They do some good work, but mostly they're over-prescribing pills. They're pushing vaccines like psychopaths, and our country's suffering. So to me, it's one of the most important issues. Let me know what you guys think. I'll read a few comments, and that's all I really want to do. And I want to say this real quick before I read some comments. I'm tired of being like trapped in this false paradigm. It's like Coke or Pepsi. It's like if you disagree with Republicans, you must be a Democrat. No. People don't get it. They're like, oh, what do you want me to vote Democrat? No, I don't want you to vote Democrat. That's not what I'm saying at all. But now the new false paradigm is like if you say the same thing you've said about Trump for a year, now all of a sudden I'm a DeSimp and a DeSantis. I'm not endorsing DeSantis and I'm not endorsing Trump. If the election were tomorrow, I'd vote for Rand Paul over both of them. If Rand Paul's not in the election, I'd vote for DeSantis over Trump because he's a little more honest when it comes to big pharma, and he hired an actual outsider. And I can't name one outsider that Trump hired in the big pharma department. That's my reasoning. So stop shaming me. Stop lying about me. I'm not a DeSimp. I'm willing to say that DeSantis will probably sell out just like Trump because he's also taking donor money. But I just want people to do the same reporting to both of them, because the only way it's going to change is if we point out this sort of stuff. But if we play into this false paradigm, it's crazy. And I'll say this, as mad as people get at me over what I say, I will never shame you if you reasonably don't harpy out at me and just say, hey, I'm voting for Trump over DeSantis. That's fine. You know, I'm not going to bully you based on your decisions. Just don't act like a psycho to me, and I don't care. And if you say I'm voting for Rand Paul over both of them, I agree. Or I'm voting for DeSantis over Trump. That's cool. But this new thing, it's like because Trump is bullying DeSantis or trying to do the bully pulpit thing, now all his supporters are just acting like psychopaths. They're like, oh, if you like DeSantis, you're a piece of garbage. You're sold out. It's like, Trump is also sold out. There isn't a mystery of what he might do if he's in. He was already there for 4 years, and we could point to what he already did and point out the flaws. So it's like, you know, all I ask for is people to be reasonable and honest, but you're starting to see like a psychological breakdown in a lot of people where they're just totally dishonest about it. And if you don't like Trump for whatever reason, like you think he did a whack job, or, you know, it's like these people are going insane. It's very bizarre. It's like Q-esque, you know, where it's like if you think the ship that pulled to New York isn't hosting pedophiles at the moment, they like harpy out at you. It's like the same sort of vibes I'm getting, but it is what it is. You know, I don't care who you vote for. Just be reasonable about it. Be like, I like his foreign policy. I like this. I think he's better. But don't cry when I say that Trump took $100 million from donors. He did. And this is the weird spell he's got people under. How should I think he's going to change when he's not changing and he's just getting worse and older? I remember what I wanted to say at the end of this while I'm looking at comments. You know, I'm not going to say that younger presidents know everything about artificial intelligence, but just like Biden's like 80 years old or whatever he is, Trump is about to be 82. And artificial intelligence, I'm not fear-mongering like, oh, you're done. Artificial intelligence is going to take over a lot of industries. It already is. I'll give you an example real quick, and I want to give a shout out to Gab, Andrew Turbo from Gab. He's focused on AI. He's not even talking politics because he understands how important AI is. And I don't want two 80-year-old vaccine salesmen arguing over each other while AI takes over jobs. I'm tired of Trump. He's totally off base. We need somebody else. But in general, for so long, I wanted to do captions on my videos for Instagram, but I just don't have the time to make the captions. And I would pay people to do the captions, and they do a crappy job. I pay them $50, $100, you know, and they were not that good at it. And it was like, whatever, I'll just not do the captions. And I want to do them not just because it's better for marketing, but captions also help the hearing impaired. I actually have a lot of fans and supporters or whatever, watchers, viewers who are hearing impaired. So, you know, they've been asking me for years to put the captions. I found an AI program that does it for like $10 a month, and it does it perfectly, and it does it better than any human can do it. They color it, they make it the right size, every word is perfect. They scan my video, and they do a perfect caption in perfect font, in perfect colors, in perfect unison within a minute. It's better than any human I've ever worked with, and you could do it for $10 a month. That's just one small example of how AI is taking over, but it's a good thing for me at this point. It's like I can get a tool that I didn't have the access to a whole team. It's actually, you know, I don't want to fearmonger, but it's like for someone like me, it's actually a great thing that I can get it done without a huge corporation. With that being said, this is a real thing that's going to take over. I mean, just like ChatGPT, there's a lot of industries that are going to be phased out that AI can do better. It doesn't mean humans have no purpose. It's just like, you know, you got to really know what your worth is, because if you're not actually good at your job, you know, like if you're doing captions, right, and you're doing Photoshop, etc., you got to be really good. If you're just subpar, I'd rather work with AI. But if you're really good at it, I'll work with you. But, you know, 99% of people that half-ass their job, it's like, well, AI has already surpassed you. You know, they've already taken it to a level that you're not working hard enough and you're not good. Like, that's the reality. So, you know, when it comes to like DeSantis versus Trump, left versus right, the woke, I get it. I agree with conservatives on like almost everything. But to me, I see this like, you know, it's like a big circus, like orange vaccine man versus the meatball, ha 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 ha. And people are going to run in circles. And, you know, people like Gab and others are really working on artificial intelligence. And, you know, the future will be won by the people that are putting in the work now. I just see a lot of these like false paradigms, like Trump versus DeSantis, like Democrats versus Republicans. It's just like a circus that's going in circles. And I think that, yeah, the people that are going to really crush in the future are the ones who are figuring out how this stuff's working. Let's read some comments. Thank you, Diary. Thank you, Jamie. What about Ramaswamy? I've heard a lot of people talk about him, but I know nothing about him as of now, so I have really no opinion. Someone said Orange Man versus the potato. The meatball versus the sweet potato. That's how we're going to do it. Trump is an orange sweet potato, and DeSantis is an Italian meatball. And the meatball and the sweet potato are going to fight. But I don't know, like, can we get a president that's not 80 years old or no? We're just going to do the 80-year-old thing as like other countries. I don't know. The U.S. has had 6 of the worst presidents in a row. Who was 6 presidents ago? What is that? Like Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden. Who was before that? Jimmy Carter maybe, or George Bush? I don't know. Someone said we need a Democrat versus Republican AI programs to argue for them. I mean, that's a good point. I think Twitter arguments can be phased out by AI. You know, instead of me arguing on Twitter, I'll just set up like an AI conversation. Here's the question, though. Am I even fighting with real people or am I fighting with AI? Some people are real. I'm not trying to like accuse, oh, you're a robot. But at the same time, like people are starting to sound like robots, like the same 7 arguments I've heard for 3 years. And it's like none of them actually make sense. You get what I'm saying? Like I'm trying to like level with people. And it's like, are they NPCs, like non-playable characters? Like, you know, or maybe I'm just fighting with AI bots on Twitter. I need to just stop like arguing, you know, because it's like it's going in a circle either way, so it's not worth it. Someone said Carter was bad, very globalist puppet. Yeah, I've heard bad things, but someone said Trump will convince all his die-hard, low IQ sycophants to stay home if DeSantis wins the GOP nomination. That's why I give the GOP 0 chance of winning in 2024. I'm already seeing people say if Trump doesn't win, I'm not voting, and it's like, I don't know. I'm not saying Trump, like, I don't know who Trump really is. Only God knows, you know, like what his purpose was. Everybody has flaws. Everybody makes mistakes. I can't tell you who Trump really is, but in my opinion, he's starting to seem like a Trojan horse to me because he's like, you piss off the left. You can put like with Trump, they totally destroyed the left because they lost their minds for some reason over Donald Trump. It was very weird. They got like brainwashed into hating him. And then you got a bunch of people that are brainwashed into obsessing over him. They've created an entire religion around him, and they're inconsistent with their politics and policies because they worship the vaccine salesman. So it's like Trump has broken both sides of politics, and now he's like, I'm taking my ball and going home if I don't win. To me, it's like he's like the perfect not only divider, but like, you know, like he's selling the vaccine harder than Bill Gates, and I'm supposed to not question that because he's Donald Trump or something. Like, it's so weird. People broke their brains over this guy. And if Trump beats DeSantis, I would vote for Trump over Biden. Unfortunately, I don't think it's like my ideal thing, but I'm not like I'm taking my ball and going home. But that's who Trump is. I mean, he's just like he took a wrecking ball to the system. I don't know. I think he's such a dangerous candidate now because he's such a liar. He has no self-awareness, no self-accountability. He plays the victim. He takes no accountability for anything. And he's not willing to correct his course. He's just trying to accuse other people of what he's doing. Like, and people are just like losing their minds supporting Trump. Like every like pro-Trump person I follow on Twitter that's like obsessed with him, they're literally turning into psychopaths. They're like freaking out all the time. And it's like, I don't care if you like him more than DeSantis. I don't care if you do reporting against DeSantis. That's healthy. But what's not healthy is lashing out at everybody who likes DeSantis more than Trump. Like there's a valid pathway to somebody that's being reasonable that likes DeSantis more than Trump. There's a reasonable pathway to liking Trump more than DeSantis, but what's not reasonable is all these Trumpy influencers acting like psychopaths against any random person who likes DeSantis or even DeSantis himself. Like, you know, are you going to do good reporting in journalism or are you just going to be like TMZ and go hysterical over him? You know, it's like people are losing their minds. And this is the important part moving forward is misery loves company, and sometimes when you engage in these conversations, you start to lose your mind. So it's like, you know, I learned this during 2020, arguing with people that are like, trust the plan, the lockdown's good, we're arresting the pedophiles in the Vatican, any day now, Trump's going to arrest the deep state. Like these people were so psychotic and yelling at me because I said lockdowns were bad. They thought they were good because Trump did it and trust the plan or whatever. They start to drag you into their psychosis. So it's very important. Like, even on Twitter, I make the same mistake all the time that Jordan Peterson makes. Like, Jordan Peterson always engages in these conversations and it ends up driving him crazy. I do the same thing sometimes where I'm like, it's 2 years and I'm having the same debates with the same people because they just don't get it. At a certain point, it's worth it just to step away. It's like these people are in some sort of like psychological spiral. If you engage with them too much, you live in their reality, and I think, it's good to kind of create your own world. Like, you don't want to like live in someone else's weird world. And even with liberals, like how many times am I going to have the same conversations with them? I try to wake people up. I try to tell the truth. But if I sit and argue with liberals every day, it's going to drive me crazy, I had a great convo in the real world today with my barista. We both like mixed martial arts. We talked for like 2 hours. It was amazing. He knew everything. I knew everything. Not everything, but you get what I'm saying? Like, my life is good. People, and then I like sometimes on Twitter, it's like it can be fun, but if you get sucked into Twitter, you're living in this alternate reality. You're arguing with people that you're never going to see over stuff that you don't even like. It's like a toxic world sometimes if you get too sucked into it. And people always say with like, if I say certain things about politics, they'll be like, oh, you're so pessimistic. I'm very joyful. I'm very happy. I'm very optimistic. Like, people have said joy is Trump. If you don't believe in Trump, you have no joy. If you don't believe in Trump, you're pessimistic. Like, it's a religion, in my opinion. Like, I'm not joyful because I disagree with Trump on something. So now I can't be joyful because Trump is my joy. Like, it's a religion for a lot of people. I wish they liked Christ as much as they like Trump, but it is what it is. It's like, I'm not saying everybody who likes Trump is a religious person. There's millions of people that like are chill that like him, but a lot of these people that are caught in it, it's like they literally are like, you have no joy. You have no joy if you don't like him. I'm like, he's your whole joy? Your joy only comes from him? Your optimism only comes from him? That's not healthy. It's very bizarre. Let me read a few comments. Someone said they will fight for the primary. I will just stand outside and watch that unless someone has a real problem. It's going to be a long 2 years. Let's see. Peter said, I want Trump to win in 2024 and do the same as what he did when he was president. Then DeSantis can take over in 2020 and improve things. Here's the thing, Peter. You have every right to say that, and I'm not going to be rude. But like, you want him to do the same things he did? Do you realize that when Donald Trump was president, the country locked down? They did 15 days to slow the spread. He printed $6 trillion. He did socialism for big pharma called Operation Warp Speed. It's not capitalism. It's socialism. It was a government scam. You want that same thing? Like, I don't want that same thing. And I'm confused that so many people think that that was good. Like, if you have 3 good quarters and your fourth quarter you threw 50 interceptions and you end in a lockdown, that's not a good game. Trump did not have a good 4 years. Like you want the same 4 years? Then in 2028, you're going to be on lockdown again. Like, you shouldn't want the same 4 years. It's creepy to me that people want those 4 years. Maybe you could say, I want the first 3 years. That makes sense to me. But saying I want the same thing he did, I absolutely don't. That's frightening. That's insane. Like, and then people are saying life was better during him. For the first 3 years, not in the fourth year, that was not good. And all this economic turmoil, a lot of that is a hangover from all of the money printing and lockdowns that happened in 2020. So, it's easy to jump out of the way and then say, oh, look, he did it. He's part of it. That's why I don't understand. If he was an outsider, I'd be like, yeah, maybe he'll fix it. But he was there when it was destroyed. He was there. He was the quarterback when everything got destroyed. And then he ran around selling vaccines. And people want that again? They don't even want to question it? Like, it's very odd to me. It's very odd. With DeSantis, at least there's like well, he never had a chance, so maybe he'll do a good job. I felt the same way with Trump. Like, he's an outsider. Roll the dice, let's see what he does. But I don't, like, do people really think all 4 years were good? It's very odd to me. Who would I like to be president? If I could choose, Thomas Massey. If I could choose realistically, Rand Paul. But I think the American people need to wake up. Like, for instance, I believe, and this is why I'm not pessimistic, I believe that you are a part of the game. You know what I'm saying? When the TV turns off, or the cell phone turns off, or the computer turns off, you're you, right? You're not me, you're not Trump, you're not Biden, you're you. God gave you life. God made you a man or a woman. I don't know if that's offensive nowadays, but I'm going to say it. Your job is not to be on the sidelines of life. Like, if you have a family, you have a family. If you have a job, you have a job. Like, you are a character in America. Your job is not to sit on the sidelines. So whether Trump wins or DeSantis wins or Biden wins, if enough Americans grab life by the horns, that's when this country becomes great again. But the problem is, too many people are sitting on the sidelines. Too many people are, professional watchers. And it's like, I have my options for president, but I don't think America's going to change until enough people grab life by the horns to some extent. And, that's the shift. There's a reason, and this might be controversial, but, a community is as safe as the people there. There are Democrat communities that are wealthy and they're safe. There's areas that aren't so safe. It's like the safeness doesn't necessarily come from the politics, although Democrats do a good job of screwing stuff up. It's a net sum of the people there. So if you go to Breckenridge, it's liberal. It's a blue state in a blue city. Why is it clean? Why is it safe, even though it's liberal? Well, look at the demographics of the people there. Look at the type of people there. Look at the average income. Look at the location. Look at the weather, and then look at the fact that the people there don't kill each other, and now you have your answer. Even though it's a Democrat area in a Democrat state, the crime rate is very low, and you can do the Scooby-Doo mystery of why that is or why it's not there. But in general, you get what I'm saying? A net sum of a community is the people there. I'm sure a Democrat could screw up a nice area, and I'm sure a Republican couldn't fix the south side of Chicago. I vote for the party that I like better, but that's just the truth of how the world works. So America's one giant community, a psychotic community of 330 million people. But America's a beautiful place, and it's a great country. So who I want for president is somewhat irrelevant, where it's like, I don't think God made you to be a cheerleader for a politician. I think he gave you a purpose. And if enough people, maximize their purpose, then things go in the right direction. Because I believe personally that there's more good people than bad people. It's just the bad people are either so psychotic that they commit some crazy crime, or, the good people are complacent and the good people are, not really doing much. Or maybe the good people are looking at the TV waiting for Donald Trump to save them, or what, or the good people got brainwashed into watching Rachel Maddow. So I think America will fix itself, but people gotta I want Thomas Massey to win president, but it doesn't matter because he's not going to be president in the next couple years. But if Biden's president, do I sit home and wait for Donald Trump? No, I have a business to run. I have a media company to create. I have a job to do. I didn't like the mainstream media, so I'm trying to do a better job than them. I'm trying to reach people. I'm trying to not only improve my life, but improve others' life. That's my goal. Whether Trump's there or Biden's there, if enough people kind of do that to an extent, not what I'm doing, but you get what I'm saying? The country can be better. Like, it's not a stand still, wait for Trump to be there. Like, you could live a great life even as a Democrat president if you just start crushing. But I prefer a Republican president at this point for 1,000 reasons. Another thing I wanted to, maybe I'll save this for another one, but this is the type of stuff. I want to give a shout out to Huey Media. Huey Media did this reporting. There's executive orders that both presidents pass, and they're always very sneaky. Like, to be fair, even Trump passed a lot of sneaky executive orders that nobody reported on. But here's two that got brought to my attention. One of them is an executive order on advancing biotechnology and biomanufacturing innovation for a sustainable, safe, and secure American bioeconomy. Another one is President Biden to sign executive order on ensuring responsible development of digital assets. Let me read part of one of the executive order. It says that the Biden executive order, we need to develop genetic engineering technologies and techniques to be able to write circuitry for cells and predictably program biology in the same way in which we write software and program computers, unlock the power of biological data, including through computing tools and artificial intelligence, and advance the science of scale-up production while reducing the obstacles for commercialization so that innovative technologies and products can reach markets faster. So they're trying to develop genetic engineering technologies and techniques to write circuitry for cells and program biology in the same way they program computers, right? And Trump is trying to tell Republicans that DeSantis didn't do anything in Florida, and everyone's going to fight over that, and Biden did this and that. I get it. There's something to talk about. But they're passing executive orders like that are saying we need to program humans like computers. I'm not reading this to get people scared. I'm not trying to like fearmonger. It's just like, this is what they do in politics. Like even some of the craziest executive orders that Trump passed, nobody knows because they don't talk about it. It's not part of like the political circus. So, it's going to be an interesting couple of years. But I believe in the American people. I just think if enough people want to live vicariously through a vaccine salesman, things are not going to end how you think they're going to end. If you take the reins of your own life, I think things could be fine. Life is always crazy and nothing like, it's not necessarily a bad thing in my opinion. Like if things are too easy, then you're too complacent. Sometimes you gotta be challenged a little bit. So America, it can't be a picket fence forever. It can't just be like, we're all watching Full House. The 90s were pretty awesome. I grew up at a great time. I'm very grateful that I grew up when I grew up. With that being said, things are going to get ugly. They always have and they always will. This isn't necessarily new. The AI is new, but if you look at human history, it's not like everybody's just chilling for thousands of years. It almost never happens. So I would say don't look at it as a negative. Like, God gives his strongest warriors tough tasks, and that's just how life is. It is what it is, Things are going to be crazy. And because of technology and the internet, like you're going to hear about the crazy stuff more than you used to because there's 24/7 news all the time everywhere. So, it's not like, hey, let's turn on the news and see what they're talking about. It's like the news is on Instagram, it's on Facebook, it's on YouTube. It never ends in this country. It's like, oh, there's a spy balloon. Oh, there's an explosion. It's just how it works. Someone said the 70s were fire, bro. I wasn't alive, but if it's anything like the Bee Gees songs, then it sounds like a good time, Is that how the 70s were? Everybody's just like listening to the Bee Gees and, discoing? Because I'm sure I would have had a blast, but I was not born in the 70s. JP Morgan, what about him? Those are distractions. Someone said the most furious time to be inspired. It's a great time to fill the void, like nobody cares about the Oscars. Like, oh, the best movie of the world, here's the greatest movie of the year is a movie no one's even heard of. It's like, wow, nobody cares unless Will Smith is slapping Chris Rock. Does anybody even know that the Oscars were yesterday? The point that I'm getting to is nobody cares about these people. You could be a bigger rock star on Instagram. So if you don't like the news, you could become the news, or you could tune it out. There's ways around the nonsense, but yeah, at times that get so crazy, it gives you purpose. Like sometimes resisting the tyranny and the wickedness, that's what drives your lane. For myself, I always did hip hop. I never signed a deal. I always said no. People don't believe me or they don't care. I don't care per se. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying I've had meetings at top record labels. They brought me up. They brought me in when I was 19, 20, 21. I never signed these deals. I had a lot of views on YouTube just as a rapper and freestyling and doing like verses. I never believed what they were doing. So it's interesting to me because all of these people in the record industry when I was 20, 21, 22, they tried to basically scare me into a bad contract, being like, oh, we could sign somebody else. You're not that important. You should wear Abercrombie and dress up and be this, like this whole thing I never wanted to do. And now, I've surpassed all of these people because I have a purpose. It's like I never was going to walk the path of being a sellout or just jumping through hoops. And it's worked out beautifully. So it's like, there was a reason that door was shut for 8 years, 9 years. I never knew I was going to do news analysis. This isn't something I even wanted to do. It happened naturally because I was rejecting the system. I was being true to myself. So, sometimes that's the best place. How many people in politics that are actually semi-decent were inspired by the corruption that they saw? And then they said, oh, I could do a better job. Well, I could run. And then they won. I don't know Chip Roy personally, but he seems like a decent guy. I don't know what drove him to run, but probably watching people on TV being like, yo, these people suck. I could do that. So, it's not all negative. You could definitely find your lane. I know like thousands of moms and women that are crushing on Etsy.com. They're selling their candles. You know, like there's a lot of money to be made out here, even amongst the turmoil. Like people making a fortune on Amazon, Etsy, Pinterest. Some people, I don't know exactly how that works, but there's ways to get your product and something that you do to the world. You know, the internet's not all bad. And I don't think AI is going to be all bad. I think some of it's going to be good. It's just like the cotton gin and like a tractor. You know, it didn't destroy everything. Oh my God, a tractor. Well, now there's got to be less people in the field and more tractors. And, you know, but you still need people. I've done farming before. It's not like the tractor does everything, but you know, technology has changed. You've had computers, you have, you know, things are going to change. You just have to provide value. You know, like if an AI can be better than you, then it's better than you. Hopefully it's like, doesn't like phase me out or something. I don't know. Maybe an AI can talk like me and make jokes like me. Maybe it will phase me out, right? That'll be a real trip. But, you know, it's just something to think about in the future. It's like, what can I do that a robot can't do? You know, what can I, because I guess like basic stuff, I don't like robots for service though. Like I think it's all creepy because no matter if it could do it fast or whatever, human to human interaction is still a beautiful thing and people are going to want that. Why do people go to clubs and bars? Because they like humans. They want to eat. And you know, it's like you don't go to a bar to talk to a robot. So I don't think AI is going to completely take over in that sense. I think human interaction is still like important. But something's going to happen. I don't know. Right now, basically I use AI to make captions because it does a better job than humans. You know, how far is that going to go? I don't know, but it is where it is. Someone said robots are creepy. On the cruise I was on, they had one bar that had robots giving drinks out, right? That was like the thing. Oh, this robot can make a drink. It's like the robot bar. I never went there. I was going to go there just to try it. Oh, that's kind of cool. A robot makes your drink. But I didn't care enough. We made friends with the humans at the karaoke bar, and it's like, oh, wow, a robot makes your drink, so cool. It's only so cool for so long. You know, it wasn't even cool enough for me to want to do because it's like, yeah, it just shakes it around, like, and it's like, cool, dude. You know, it's better to have a human person to talk to than a robot. But I don't know. What's up? All right, I'm going to take off, guys. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. Thanks for being here. Dream Rare Podcast. I think our last one got like 7,000 views on Rumble. So thank you, rumble.com. Thank you to BitChute.com. We have over 2 million views on there. Facebook, YouTube, appreciate it. Spotify, all that. And dreamrare.com. I'm going to get some new hats soon. I think we have white hats. We found like 40 more white hats. And when the white hats sell out, if anybody ever wanted one, I don't know that we're ever going to be able to get them again because they've been discontinued from that company, but I'm working on getting sweatshirts again. We have the best sweatshirts. They sold out quickly and it really is good quality. So we're going to get that. I have other products coming soon, but check out those. And that's the Dream Rare Podcast. Thanks for hanging out and thanks for listening. Hey, what's going on, my friends? Just a few ways to stay in touch and support if you'd like to. The first way is dreamrare.com. We have blue beanies, black beanies, pink hats, other colored hats, freedom versus tyranny shirts, stay blessed long sleeve, God is great long sleeve, and lots of more cool items coming soon. Dreamrare.com. Check out the shop to support. Everything's made in the United States. Handpicked by me. Patreon.com/raretalk for $5 a month. You can help support me, support the show. If you haven't noticed, unlike other channels, I don't work with very many sponsors, sometimes none at all. And part of the way I'm able to do that is with the dreamrare.com shop and patreon.com/raretalk. So thank you guys for keeping this show free, unimpeded, uninterrupted. I'm forever grateful. My free email list is stayintouchwithme.com. So check the links below in the description or just type in on any browser, stayintouchwithme.com, all one word. You'll find my email list, put it in there, and it's the least annoying email list you'll ever be on. I barely use it because I don't like getting emailed every day or every week. It's annoying. So I don't do it. Stayintouchwithme.com. It helps me take back some power away from big tech. Telegram, t.me/dreamrarechat or @dreamrarechat. Due to censorship, I post all my live stream and videos there. Sometimes I have some bonus content, and I try to give people a heads up when Facebook or YouTube won't. DreamRareChat at Telegram. My Instagram is @DreamRare. Thanks for everybody following there for shorter content. And DreamRareLinks.com. That's DreamRareLinks.com. Has all my stuff. My podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, my music on Spotify and Apple, my Rumble page, my BitChute and Gab page. All my links are found at DreamRareLinks.com. Thanks for watching, folks. God bless you. You already know I'll be back with more content